So there I was, sitting one afternoon after rewatching The Batman for the 400th time. Something needed to change. I was meant for so much more than this. Thursday, June 30th. I was editing my video when I suddenly thought I should fight crime. But then I thought, nah, screw that. My viewers need me, for I am not some mere YouTuber, but a symbol of stupidity. Friday, July 1st. After some careful thought and consideration, I've decided that this monologue has gone on for long enough, and people want to hear about Batman Arkham Origins. So anyways, let's get into the review. But then I decided, you know what? It doesn't matter if they want to or not. This is my fight, my crusade. I am vengeance. Sorry about that. Where was I? You know I'm still here, right? Oh my god. Sorry, now that the edgy, emo Master Assassin is done narrating, we can finally talk about Arkham Origins. Origins, as I'm sure many of you know, was pretty much created to bridge the long gap between Arkham City and Arkham Knight. Since Arkham Knight was such a massive game and took years to make, it took over 2 years for the voice acting alone. Origins was meant to tie us over in the meantime and was worked on by WB Games Montreal, while all the other games in the series were worked on by Rocksteady. And while Arkham Origins didn't really introduce a lot of new stuff or innovate the series like Arkham Knight was attempting to do, I think WB Games Montreal did a good job of capturing what Rocksteady did with the previous 2 Arkham games. I'm sure to many people, and possibly even myself, Arkham Origins may be the worst game in the series, which just feels weird for me to say because it's still a really solid game. But Rocksteady's Arkham games are just so good that it makes it hard for Origins to compete. However, there's still a lot to love about Arkham Origins, and even with it missing the iconic voices of Kevin Conroy's Batman and Mark Hamill's Joker, the voice acting is still incredible. In my opinion, they got the best 2 possible people to voice these characters while Conroy and Hamill worked on Arkham Knight, with Roger Craig Smith as Batman, who's voiced so many iconic characters including Ezio, one of my favorite video game protagonists of all time, and whom my profile picture is of, and Troy Baker, who's no doubt my favorite video game voice actor of all time, who's voiced so many phenomenal characters. Seriously, just take your pick. These guys did an excellent job of capturing the essence of these characters while putting their own unique spin on it and making it work. Roger Craig Smith works perfectly as the voice for a younger, more aggressive, angry, and immature Batman, while Kevin Conroy's voice is a stark contrast as the more mature and experienced Batman. The Arkham Joker is also meeting Batman for the first time in this game, and Troy Baker did an excellent job portraying the beginning of Joker's obsession with Batman that becomes Mark Hamill's Joker in the other games. I know some people initially were very upset to not have Kevin and Mark in this game, but it was in more than good and capable hands with these 2. The timing to be playing this game also couldn't be more perfect, as Origins takes place during Batman's 2nd year, which is exactly the same time frame as the new Batman movie. And a lot of the themes in this game actually resonate with the movie quite a bit. This Batman is furious. He takes out all his rage on thugs and criminals and doesn't care to be Bruce Wayne at all, as time and time again he brushes off Alfred to go out and fight crime.
You're not my father.
I couldn't help but think about that line in every scene with Alfred.
You're not my father.
Even you must eat, sir.
You're not my father.
Those assassins will all fail their mandate if you just spend the evening.
You're not my father.
Multiple hostages. Again, we have lost Blackgate. Captain Gordon is calling on anyone for assistance.
They need you.
You're not my father.
Poor Alfred, man. All jokes aside though, the Bruce and Alfred dynamic is a pretty heavy focus in this game's story, and I really enjoyed it. This relationship has always been portrayed very well in a lot of the movies and shows, and I feel the game captures that very well here. Alfred is constantly concerned and worried for Bruce, his health, and his safety. He quite ironically pretty much is his father, while all Bruce cares about is fighting crime and saving people with no regard or care for his own well-being.
I don't care what happens to me.
I found it to be a really nice change of pace that this Batman is still very young and inexperienced. He isn't the cool, calm, collected badass from Asylum or City yet, and he still needs to grow and learn. Again, something very similar between the new movie and this game. Even these scenes feel extremely similar. Something else I really love about this Batman story is because he's so new, many of the criminals see the Batman as nothing but a myth or legend meant to scare them off. A boogeyman created by the cops or something meant to scare them and seeing their shocked reactions when they realize said boogeyman is real is priceless. It makes you feel powerful and intimidating as a player, like you're creating genuine fear in these criminals.
No, not maybe. I am. When the mugger or the thief stops to think twice, that is fear. That is what I am. That is why they hired assassins, because I am the reason the criminals breathe easier when the sun rises.
Arkham Origins also does what many stories do in order to feel like a classic. Have it set during Christmas. I love the setting, and the reason I believe it's set during Christmas is to further show that Bruce doesn't care what time of year it is. He's always going to choose to be Batman over Bruce Wayne, as poor Alfred makes him Christmas dinner and all Bruce has to say is,
You're not my father.
I want to talk about the antagonists of the game for a bit. I know many people at this point were kind of sick of seeing the Joker as the main villain for every Arkham game, especially with the extremely satisfying and beautiful conclusion to Arkham City. And while I agree they definitely overused the Joker, he's still great in every game he shows up in. Arkham Origins is a prequel, and getting to see how the Joker develops his obsession with Batman was fantastic. He sees Batman as the only person who understands him, and he feels he can actually relate to him, which sounds insane, but actually makes sense in his own twisted way. I think they nailed the Joker and Batman dynamic to a T yet again in this game, and it might feel a little rushed since the whole story all happens in one night, but still good nonetheless. We also get to see Batman's first time fighting a lot of these classic villains, as 8 assassins are hired to kill him. Deathstroke, Shiva, Deadshot, Electrocutioner, Firefly, Bane, Copperhead, and Killer Croc. Then of course the Riddler, Penguin, and Mad Hatter, who are present in almost every game. The roster isn't quite as impressive as Arkham City, but stacked nonetheless. We even get to see a glimpse of the origins of Harley Quinn as she develops feelings for the Joker, and the start of the alliance between Jim Gordon and Batman, which I thought was a nice touch. I am a little disappointed at the underutilization of Black Mask, again with Joker stealing the spotlight from a villain we don't get to see a whole lot of. I think for what Origins is, as telling the origin story for a lot of these villains and their connections with Batman, and Batman still growing and learning how to become the Batman we see in the other games, it does a very good job at that. Unfortunately, it is a very short story, and a lot of the villains get very minimal screen time. But for the amount of time it was given, especially since it was just meant to be an in-between game, it did well. This game also has some fantastic looking cutscenes, especially during or leading up to boss fights. It also had those incredible looking CGI trailers. So like I said earlier, Arkham Origins doesn't add a lot new in terms of gameplay, but it's pretty on par with the Rocksteady games. The free-flowing combat system remains mostly unchanged, but is still as satisfying and addicting as ever. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I will say it felt a little less polished than Arkham City to me. There were quite a few times where Batman would randomly strike the air and end a combo for me when there are clearly enemies within his vicinity. It happens a little in Asylum and City as well, but it felt more prevalent to me in Origins. However, I do really enjoy Origins' enemy variety. There's a handful of new enemy types that change how you approach combat and ensures you can't just button mash the whole time and expect to take everybody out. Each enemy has its own strengths and weaknesses, and it could be frustrating to deal with when you attack the wrong enemy when you have a large combo streak going. Probably the biggest new change for the combat though was the shock gloves that charge up from combos and allow you to just destroy everybody. I'm a little mixed on the shock gloves because it essentially just puts the game into easy mode, as when they're active you can just punch any enemy type's defense and be successful, which kind of takes away the whole point of having different enemy types in the first place. It is a nice reward for putting together good combos, but you get it charged really easily and frequently, so I don't know, maybe if it took longer to charge it would be better, because it does take a lot of difficulty out of a game that's already pretty easy. Your other gadgets are the same from the previous games with a few changes changes and additions, the glue grenade being one of them, which is literally like the freeze grenade from Arkham City, but you know, glue. The other one is the concussion detonator, which is very similar to the remote electrical charge from City, where you can disorient enemies into attacking each other. So the two new gadgets are basically reskinned versions of pre-existing gadgets from City. Very similar situation with the stealth system. It's practically the same, but again, it is a very fun and satisfying system. I also liked how you could unlock quicker takedown animations in this game. It's still a basic system, but fun to use, and like the combat, some new additions and changes would have been nice, but that doesn't mean it's not good by any means. I like the detective work and investigation related missions. It may not be the most exciting or action-packed, but it captures the immersion of being Batman for me. The upgrades and skill tree are back in Arkham Origins as well, where you can unlock new moves and abilities, as well as upgrade your combat and ballistic armor. Again, very similar to City, which isn't a bad thing, just not much fresh and new for the experience. Like the previous games, Arkham Origins has quite a decent amount of boss fights. I personally really enjoyed the boss fights in this game. Visually, they look amazing. The animators did a fantastic job in Arkham Origins, especially with the Deathstroke fight. However, in terms of difficulty, they do feel quite easy, and a lot of them feature lots of QTEs and button mashing, as opposed to the more strategic, well thought out bosses from City, like with the Mr. Freeze boss fight. My favorite boss in this game was the third one with Bane, where he's all juiced up, and you have to hide and get the drop on him. It kind of felt like something out of a horror game, having this scary Bane run full speed at you, with that music as well.
For Alfred.
Bane? More like lame. Oh!
In terms of the boss's designs, I definitely prefer City's boss fights, but visually, Origins looks amazing. I definitely say it's right behind City for best boss fights in the series, and I understand why a lot of people think it has the best bosses in the series. Arkham Origins is unique because it's actually the first Arkham game to take place in Gotham. Kind of crazy to think about, considering Gotham is synonymous with Batman, but the first two games took place in smaller, isolated parts of the city. So getting to finally play in Gotham was very cool. However, the world itself was really bare. The complete absence of civilian NPCs kills the immersion a bit, and the criminals are very spread out throughout the world, causing it to feel empty at times. A lot of the open world activities and side quests felt really tedious to me. The Riddlers in particular got old real quick, having to shut down the towers with the cryptographic sequencer and then destroy 10 network relays in every district, rinse and repeat. Same thing for the Penguins, where all you have to do is take out a couple thugs and disrupt weapon crates. There's not even a final confrontation for that one. For Anarchy, you had to defuse 3 different bombs around the city and then take them out in a final boss fight. That one was okay. The side quest I genuinely enjoyed though was the Deadshot boss fight and the whole Mind Trip level with the Mad Hatter. The rest were sort of tedious and forgettable for me. However, finally getting an actual Batcave was really nice. You could do some training there as well, and I liked how you could fast travel to the different districts with the Batwing. Imagine if you could actually fly that thing in game. That would be a lot of fun. I of course also really enjoy the winter aesthetic for Gotham, with the snow and occasional Christmas music sprinkled in throughout. Graphics wise, Arkham Origins still looks good to me. I quite like the art style they went for, and maybe some characters look a little weird, but I have to say I love Batman's suit in this game. It looks so clean. And of course this game ran really well for me on PC. I was easily hitting over 144 frames, so it's quite an easy game to run on PC if you're considering getting it on there. Batman Arkham Origins to me is probably one of the worst games in the Arkham series, which again feels really weird for me to say because it's still a good game and I enjoyed it a lot. But that's just a testament to Rocksteady and their quality of games. And for what it's worth, I think Warner Bros. Games Montreal did a great job with Origins. This is definitely an underrated game in my opinion, although I suppose a lot of people say that these days, so don't really know if we can still consider it underrated, but whatever. I definitely recommend this game in 2022. In fact, it's a great time to check it out for the first time or replay it with all the similarities it has to the Batman. You can find this game for dirt cheap on a sale, so if you got a few bucks to spare, I definitely urge you to try it if you haven't already, or you can just ignore me.
I didn't ask for your opinion.
But let me know what you think of Arkham Origins in the comments if you've played it already, or let me know if this video was helpful in your decision of whether or not to try it out for the first time. I'll be reviewing Batman Arkham Knight sometime in the near future as well, so look forward to that, Arkham fans. I've also already reviewed Arkham Asylum and Arkham City recently, so check that out if you'd like. I left links for those in the description. I have channel memberships now, so consider becoming a member. It would really help me out, and if you're new here, consider subscribing if you liked the video. Thanks for watching, everyone.
You're not my father.
Nobody asked, Bruce.